Hello and welcome to my channel. Today's video we will be making this little pig. And as a bonus, you can also follow this same video tutorial to make this larger pig in the plushie yarn. So I will be showing you with the number 4 yarn, and you can choose if you want to make the smaller version or try the larger version using the number 6 bulky yarn. The smaller one, this one is about 6 inches tall to the top of his ears, and then the larger one is about 9.5 inches up to the top of his ears. And just as a reference, I think I used about 4.5 ounces of the Bernat blanket yarn for this. So if you're going to try it in the bigger yarn, I would say make sure you have at least 5 ounces. It is all one piece from the head down to the body and down to the bottom of the feet. And then we will have to attach the nose, the ears, and the little tail. And this is a crochet along, so I will be doing every stitch with you except maybe the repeat rows in the head and the body. But I will be putting a little drop down screen for the first 15 seconds of every row that will have the pattern instructions for that row or set of rows. If you want to do any of these other animals, the horse, the goat, the cow, and the chicken, I have the chicken done. And there will be links down in the description as I finish the rest. So you can just go down there, click more, and scroll down a bit, and they will all be down there. Also, don't forget, if you enjoy my videos, to hit the subscribe button and you will be notified every time I load a new video, and it should show up in your subscription feed as well. I think that's everything, so let's get started. So we are going to begin with the legs, and you're going to need 4 of them. So grab whatever color you're doing the hoof part in, and you're just going to make your knot with the loop on the end. Wrap it around your finger, go down and through the loop, and then pull out. And you want your loop to be just a little bit bigger than your hook. You can start this any way you're used to using, as long as you have the same 6 single crochets in your first round. Okay, so grab your yarn, pull it through the loop, and then just make 1 chain, and that is just to attach your yarn to the loop. It does not count as a stitch. And now we are going to begin row 1 with 6 single crochets into the loop. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Grab a stitch marker if you are using one, And our next row is going to be 6 increases. So we're going to put 2 single crochets in every stitch all the way around for a total of 12. So increase 1 and 2, increase again, 3 and 4, increase again, 5 and 6, increase again, 7 and 8, increase again, 9 and 10, and then your last increase of the row, 11 and 12. Row 3, we are going to be going in the back loops. So this is where you normally will stick your crochet hook. This would be going down and under into the front loop, and we are going to be going in between the 2 V's and down and out under the back loop. So for row 3, we're going to do 12 single crochets all the way around in the back loops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then when you go to do your 12th stitch, don't quite finish that off because we are going to change to pink. And if you were doing this in the plush yarn, I went in the back loops, but you don't really notice a huge difference. So if you have a hard time finding the back loops in the plush yarn, just keep going. Your hooves will just be a little more rounded, which doesn't look bad. Okay, so grab your main color. So for me, obviously the pig is going to be pink, but he could be any color you want to make him. And you're just going to tie that, the pink and the gray together down against the hook, and then tie that a couple of times. Just like if you were tying your shoelaces or something. Then you're going to cut your gray. And you're going to grab that pink or whatever color you chose, and you're just going to pull it through that last 12th stitch of row 3. And that should give you a little bit of a cleaner color change. Okay, for rows 4 to 6, you are just going to do 12 single crochets all the way around. So that's 3 rows. So you can either do 3 rows of 12, or I am going to do 12 times 3. So I'm going to do 36 stitches around, and I'm going to flip my stitch marker every time I hit a set of 12. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that's 1 row of 3. And I'm going to keep on counting. 4, whoops, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So that is 2 of our 3 rows. So I flip my stitch marker and keep on going. 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, and 36. So that's my 3 rows of 12 single crochets. And then you're just going to slip stitch into the next stitch, and then you can tie that off. You don't need a very long tail. These are just basically going to go inside your foot. Just enough that you can knot it and not worry about that knot coming out. So you need to make 3 more of these little legs. If you need to, I will put a little timestamp in the next frame, and you can go back to the beginning and redo the foot with me. Or if you remember how to do it, you can just get those next 3 done and join me on the next part, which will be starting the head. Okay, we're going to start the head, but before I do my normal way, just in case you're using the plushie yarn, I'm going to show you how I do the magic ring. And I will admit right now, I am absolutely not an expert at it, but this should get you by. So you're going to place the yarn between your thumb and your ring finger. Just pinch it down there. And then you're going to wrap the yarn around those 3 fingers to make an X. And then hold your yarn with your pinky finger so it's nice and tight. Flip your hand over. Go under your front piece of yarn and grab your back yarn. And then you're just going to bring it under, and you're going to do 1 chain. And then that's going to secure your yarn. Whoops, see? That's going to secure your yarn to your loop. And so if your pattern is asking for 6 single crochets into the magic circle, you're going to start your 6 right now over the tail and your loop. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then you'll grab your tail, and then you're just going to pull it nice and tight. If you're using the plush yarn, be very gentle but firm because it breaks quite easily, I have found. And then now you are ready to start round 2. Okay, now if you're not using the magic circle, we're just going to do our normal loop. starting a chain just big enough to get our hook in. Grab your yarn, pull up and through, and chain 1. Okay, so for round 1, we are going to do 6 single crochets into the loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Grab your stitch marker if you're using one. And for round 2, we are going to do 6 increases for so that's 2 single crochets in every stitch around for a total of 12. So increase 1 and 2, increase 3 and 4, increase 5 and 6, increase 7 and 8, increase 9 and 10, and our last increase 11 and 12. For row 3, you are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 18. So 1, increase, 2 and 3, 4, increase, 5 and 6, 7, increase, 8 and 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, increase, 14 and 15, 16, and your last increase, 17 and 18. For row 4, you're going to do 2 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 24. So 1, 2, and your increase, 3 and 4, 5, 6, increase, 7 and 8, 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, 14, increase, 15 and 16, 17, 18, increase, 19 and 20, 21, 22, and your last increase, 23 and 24. Row 5, you're going to do 3 single crochets and an increase for a total of 30. So 1, 2, 3, and increase, 4 and 5. 6, 7, 8, and an increase, 9 and 10. 11, 12, 13, and an increase, 14 and 15. 16, 17, 18, and an increase, 19 and 20, 21, 22, 23, and an increase, 24 and 25, 26, 27, 28, and an increase, 29 and 30. Okay, for rows 6 to row 9, we are just going to do 30 single crochets all the way around. And instead of me doing, that's 4 rows, and instead of me counting the 30 4 times, I'm going to count to 60 twice, and then I'm just going to flip my marker every time I hit a 30. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. So that's one row of 4. And I'm going to keep on counting to 60, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, and 60. So that's 2 rows of the 4 you're making. And I'm going to start now at 1 again and go to 60. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, whoops, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. So that is 3 rows of your 4 rows, and this is our last one, and I'm going to keep counting. 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, and 60. Okay, row 10, we're going to start decreasing now. And we are going to do 3 single crochets and then 1 decrease for a total of 24. So 1, 2, 3, and we'll do 4 as a decrease, and I'll do 1 slow in case you've never done one before. So you go in the next stitch, grab your yarn and pull up and through, and then you're going to go over to your next stitch, grab your yarn, pull up and through. You'll have 3 loops on your hook, and now you'll grab your yarn again and pull through all those 3 stitches, so you've made 2 stitches into 1. Okay, so that was 4, so now we'll go 5, 6, 7, and a decrease for 8, 9, 10, 11, and a decrease for 12, 13, 14, 15, and a decrease for 16, 17, 18, 19, and decrease for 20, 21, 22, 23, and our last decrease, 24. Row 11, we're going to do 2 single crochets and 1 decrease. Repeat that around for a total of 18. So 1, 2, and a decrease for 3. Whoops, 4, 5, and a decrease for 6, 7, 8, and decrease for 9, 10, 11, and decrease for 12, 13, 14, and decrease for 15, 16, 17, and our last decrease for 18. Okay, for row 12, we are going to do 1 single crochet and 1 decrease for a total of 12. So 1 and 2 is a decrease, 3, 4 is a decrease, 5, 6 is a decrease, 7, 8 is a decrease, 9, 10 is a decrease, 11, and 12 is a decrease. Okay, now we are going to ignore our stitch counter down here. This no longer matters to us. And we are going to chain 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So it should look like this. Now we are going to start our new rows up here, and we're going to be starting in the second chain. So the loop on your hook does not count as anything. This will be your first chain, and then this is your second chain, and this is where we're going to be starting right here. So I'm just going to move my stitch marker around, and we are going to be going 6 single crochets down this side, 12 around the head, and then 6 back up the other side of the chain. So this is the trickiest part, but I will go nice and slow. And what you need to remember the most is you need to have 24 stitches around so that when we start our next rows, we are on the right count. Okay, so we're going to do 6 down this chain, starting in the second chain from the hook. So 1, 2, 3, make sure this doesn't twist, 4, 5, and 6. Now we are going to be putting 12 around the head, but because we are going over to this stitch, so that's where our last decrease was. Hold on, let me get this out of the way for a minute. So our last decrease was here, so our first stitch around the head should be here. But because we don't want a big hole here or to have to come back and sew it on, we're going to do 1 decrease in our last stitch of row, last stitch of our last row and our first stitch of the head. So I hope that makes sense. So we're just decreasing here instead of a single crochet. So that will be our first stitch into the head. Then we're going to do 12. 2, 12 total. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 right there. And now we're going to do 6 single crochets up this chain. And just keep in mind where your stitch marker is if you are using one. So I'm going to start right here where you can see a bit of that V. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so that was row 13. Row 14, we are going to be doing 3 single crochets and 1 increase for a total of 30 stitches. So we want to make sure we start up in here where we have our stitch marker. Did I flip that? No, oh yeah, I did. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, and an increase, 4, and 5. And just repeat that around. 6, 7, 8, and our increase, 9 and 10. 11, 12, 13, and an increase, 14 and 15. 16, 17, 18, and an increase, 19 and 20, 21, 22, 23, and your increase, 24 and 25, and this should be our last set coming up. 26, 27, 28, and an increase, 29 and 30. And that brings us right back to our stitch marker for our next row. If you're not quite there, fix your stitches now. An extra one or one less, however you need, so you have 30 single crochets around. Okay, for row 15, we are going to be doing 4 single crochets and 1 increase. Repeat that around for a total of 36. 1, 2, 3, 4, and your increase, 5 and 6. 7, 8, 9, 10, and an increase for 11 and 12. 13, 14, 15, 16, and an increase, 17 and 18. 19, 20, 21, 22, and an increase, 23 and 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, an increase, 29, and 30. 31, 32, 33, 34, and an increase, 35 and 36. Rows 16 to 19 are 36 single crochets all the way around. So that's 4 rows of 36, and I am going to do it in 2 sets of 72 and 72, flipping my marker when I hit 36 of the row. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, and 36. So that is 1 row of 4. I'm going to keep on counting. 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51. Whoopsie, I don't know what happened there. I hope I was on 51, so 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, and 72. So that is 2 of our 4 rows. And now I'm going to start back at 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, and 36. So that is 3 of our 4 rows. So this should be our last row, and I'm going to keep on counting. 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, and 72. So that should be our 4 rows, and we are finished up to row 19. Okay, now we are going to start adding the legs. And what we're going to be doing is we'll be going around half the leg. So we'll have 6 stitches in the leg, and then we'll have 3 stitches between the legs. And because we're not quite centered in the back, we'll probably have 2 single crochets on this side and then 1 on this side at the end. Okay, so to begin, we're going to do 2 single crochets, 1 and 2, and then we're going to take our leg, and I'm putting the strings on the inside and not on the inside so that you won't see them. So they'll be flipped this way. So you want to have your leg with your knot facing you, and you're going to be going into this side of the leg. So it probably will feel a little tricky and awkward for the first one, and then you should get the hang of it as we go. So you're going to put your hook into one of your stitches on this side of your leg, and then your next stitch in your body. Then you're going to grab your yarn and just do a single crochet through both of those, and we're going to need 6. So that was 1. Do the same thing for the second, through the leg, then through the body, making sure you're going through both sides of the V. So this will be 3. And then 4. Make sure you're always getting in the next stitch and not accidentally going in the same stitch. And we'll do 5. Through the leg and through the body. And then 6. Through the leg and through the body. And then we're going to do 3 single crochets across the next stitches. So 1, 2, and 3. Now you're going to grab your next leg. Make sure you have the knot facing you, kind of in the middle of your leg. And then you're going to start back here. And you're going to go through the leg and the next stitch of the body. So mine's right there. And 6 single crochets across. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oops, almost didn't go through the leg. And 6. Now again, you're going to go 3 single crochets across, making sure you're over in the next stitch. 1, 2, and 3. And grab your next leg. We're going to do the exact same thing. Knot towards you in the center. And then in the next stitch of the body. And 6 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, And our last one, 6. And now again, 3 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, and grab your last leg. And I know it looks like you got a long way to go, but it does work out as long as you went in the right stitches around. So through the leg, through the body, you're going to have 6 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then you should have your one leftover stitch on this side to make that 3 between the back legs. There. Okay, now we are going to put the eyes on. We don't want to get any further than this because I think we only have 2 or 3 rows left. So grab some stuffing. Just so you can kind of see the shape of your head when you put your eyes on, and you can kind of get them nice and centered. You don't have to fill it like you would, just fill it so you kind of get the shape you want. Where do I want this? Maybe about there. And then you want to find your center. So kind of between the legs here, straight up. I'm just going to use my hook to kind of judge that. And we want to go down, where are we? I think it's between rows 5 and 6. Yes. So starting where you made your loop, this will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you want to have it in this row here. And I want to find the center, but not a hole. So I want it to be kind of in the stitch. But I don't know if that's going to work. Let's see. Might have to put it in this one. That's about right for me. So, assuming you're in an actual stitch and not a hole, we are going to count over 3 holes for the eyes. So 1, 2, and 3, and that's where you're going to put your first eye. If it will go in. And then you're going to put your other eye the same way on the other side. So just from that stitch you're in, count 3 holes over. 1, 2, 3. And put that eye in there. I must have got a little tight this time. This eye does not want to go in. There we go. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 holes between my eyes, and I'm using 10mm eyes. If your eyes are bigger, they'll probably be a little closer, and you may want to go over 1 more hole. Just kind of decide now. For me right now, this is exactly how the eyes are going to be when the pig is finished. If you want to do like when I did the chicken, I squished his eyes in. You also want to go over a hole or 2 because you don't want him this close and then bring him in. He'll look like he's cross-eyed. So for this pig that I'm doing right now in the eye placement, we're not going to be bringing them in and squishing them kind of together. Okay, I'm happy with that. So I'm going to take that little bit of stuffing out. and put my backs on. I keep losing my pins. Oh, that's why. Look at the stitches, or I was going through a stitch instead of an actual hole. Reason for everything, I guess. So get your backs on. Oh, this one's a little harder. There we go. Listen for them clicks when you're doing that. And don't worry that they look too high right now, because remember, we got to put a big round snout on him. So the higher, with them being higher, you're not going to have your snout pointing down, because we want our snout pointing like out towards us. Oh, and the eye placement is exactly the same for the big plush. It'll just look like you have the 2 stitches here, but there's a stitch right there and right there, so there's kind of 4 stitches. I got to keep looking at him. He turned out so cute. I don't know if it's the ears or what, but considering I've only made a handful of things out of that plush yarn, I'm kind of quite proud of him. I just need to learn how to make it without having to make a little one first. Learn my shapes in that yarn. Okay, so now we might as well stuff his head how we want it. And I have noticed lately, I have really been stuffing my stuff really firm. Like, oh, that guy's not that squishy, but that is making my stitches split a little bit, and I don't like that. So be very careful not to open up these stitches because you've put too much stuffing in. And it's really easy to do, I know. Especially if you're trying to shape the head and you want to throw a little bit more on one side or something. Okay, I think I'm going to leave it about like that. And then we will work on the bottom. Okay, so we have 36 stitches around, and we are going to decrease every stitch, which should be 18 stitches all the way around. Mathematically, whatever I do does not work to 18. We're going to end up somewhere between 22 and 26. I think partially because when we come down here, we might be putting in an extra decrease in all of the corners where his feet join, just so there's not a hole there we have to stitch. So even though decreasing from 36, every stitch should be 18, don't worry if you're not at 18. As long as you decrease all the way around enough that there's no holes where the legs join on every side. Okay, let's get our needle back in, our hook back in there. Oops, I gotta get my camera angle back down. Okay, so let's start decreasing. And don't worry if your count is different than mine, like I just said. 1. So I'm going here and here, so there's no hole. 2, 3, and when you get to your knot, you're going to go behind the V and in front of the V where the knot is. So I believe this is 4. And make sure that knot is behind your stitches so it's hidden on the inside and doesn't show up on the outside. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5. And just get your stitch wherever you think it needs to be. I think that's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, we're definitely going in here. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. See, I'm already at 18 over here. I still got a third or a quarter left to go. Is that 19? 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, and what do we got here? I think we can just do one single crochet in there. So 26. Okay. I'm going to do one more row before I stuff. So now it should go back. So if I have 26, my next row should be 13. So half of whatever you did in this row will be what you did in the next row, because we're just going to decrease around again. And don't worry too much if your decreases are not nice. Like, here's my decreases on the bottom. You're not going to see this unless you have like a crochet inspector or something inspecting your work. So it will look a little messy, but it'll all be hidden by the legs. And again, it'll look almost perfect on this guy. That's one nice thing about this plush yarn. I should have pulled that tighter, but I was worried the string was going to break, so I just kind of didn't do any more. Okay, so for row 22, you're just going to decrease all the way around again. One, two, three, four, five, six, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and I'm going to put a I'm going to put a 13th in there. So I should have had 13. And then you're just going to slip stitch in the next stitch. And then give yourself, I can't remember if I do anything with this tail. No, I think it's a cow tail. I pull out this side. But give yourself a little bit of a tail just in case. And it will also help once these are all stuffed to get in here without having a short tail. I'm going to take this out now. I think I'm going to take it out here first. And then pull it out here. Okay, now we are going to get this guy stuffed up. So you're going to start by putting some stuffing in the legs. And try and put about the same amount in each leg. I'm just going to feel them and see if you need to add a touch more. I think that's about okay. And then you're going to take a fair sized chunk and you're going to start stuffing into the back. So you're kind of coming up and helping that point stay pointed, because that's where you're going to put his little curly tail. Careful not to overstuff right here because these will separate a little bit. And then take some and put it in the front. And then just kind of shape it a little bit. Bring it down in front of his legs. And that should be good, I think. And then we are going to close him up. So thread your needle. And you're just going to go in and out of all those last row of decreases you just made. And watch that your tail doesn't get wrapped around the legs, because I just finished taking out 2 rows because that's what I did. And I didn't realize why it wasn't closing properly until after I tied it, and then I seen that I had around one of my legs. Instead of going into the stitch, it was wrapped around. Okay, so now let's give that a pull. And if you're using the blanket yarn, be very, very careful at this part because it will want to snap on you. And then you're just gonna try and hold that tension and tie it right close to where you have your yarn. See, I just went around the leg just now, but I caught it. Okay, give that a tie. And that is not tying tight. Of course, it wouldn't on video. So I have quite a hole now. I think what I'm going to do to fix that is just kind of go back and forth a few times. Even that one time kind of helped. And then I'll just retie it when I have it. That's even better. Look at that. Okay. I don't know why there's a hole right there, but I wonder if we can go up in there and just grab a tiny little piece. I don't want stuffing under. Grab that tiny little piece there. There, that. You shouldn't have to do this. I'm not sure why it did this on me. So I didn't have to do this to any of the other ones. It could just be that I can't have it up close. And my arms are stretched out trying to be in front of the camera. Okay, I'm happier with that. So let's tie it now. I am going to use that little trick. Pull one side first and then pull the rest of my knot. I should have done that to begin with. Okay, and then you're just going to bring that up and out the top somewhere. Now, if you're worried about how the legs are split, you can either pull this up and come down and back a couple times, or when he's done, you can kind of thread around his legs, like go in this leg and then go in this leg, just so he kind of stays more like this. But I don't mind his legs being apart a little bit. Okay, so now we need to make the last couple of parts and sew them on, and we will almost be done. Okay, so we're going to do the ears next. So you're going to need to make 2 of them. So you're going to start with your knot with the loop on the end. And you're going to grab your yarn, pull it through and chain 1. And then you're going to put 6 single crochets into the loop. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. If you need to fix your little hole in the middle, just pull your tail and that will close it up a bit. Okay, grab a stitch marker if you're using one. And for row 2, we are going to do 6 single crochets all the way around. So just one in every stitch. One. And make sure you're stretching all the way around to the next stitches, because it will look like your stitch is closer than it is. 2. 3. 4. 5. And 6. Round 3, we are going to do 6 increases. So that's 2 single crochets in every stitch around for a total of 12. So increase 1 and 2. Increase 3 and 4. Increase 5 and 6. Increase 7 and 8. Increase 9 and 10. And our last increase 11 and 12. Row 4, we're going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 18. So 1, 2, and 3 for our increase, 4, increase, 5 and 6, 7, increase, 8 and 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, increase, 14 and 15, 16, and your last increase, 17 and 18. For rounds 5 and 6, we are going to do 2 rows of 18. I am just going to do 36 stitches and flip my marker when I hit the end of the first row of 18. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So that's 1 row of 2, and we'll do our second row, but keep on counting. 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, and 36. Row 7, we are going to do 9 decreases. So 1 decrease, 2 decreases, 3 decrease, 4 decrease, 5 decrease, 6 decreases, 7 decreases, 8 decreases, and 9 decreases. Now we are going to turn it so that our stitch is on the side, and we are going to do 4 single crochets across the top. So you're going to go in one side under both sides of the V, and then the second side under both sides. 1, and then to the next set of stitches, 2, through the next set of stitches, 3, and then you're just going to kind of go under that little bar of the last where the stitches were joined, 4, and then tie that off. Leave a little bit of a tail for sewing. And you're going to want to make 2, so I will put a screenshot in the next frame for you to go back to the time stamp to restart the ear, and then I will join you back to do the next part. Okay, we're going to be making the nose now. So we are going to be chaining, so make sure you make the knot with the loop on the end this time. And what we are going to be doing is we're going to make our chain. We're going to be increasing on both of the ends, and then in the middle we're going to have 2 stitches. So we're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. What did I do with my, there it is. So I am going to be marking my first stitch. So this doesn't count as a stitch. This is your first stitch from the hook, and this is your second stitch from the hook. So we're going to be going into here, and I am just going to put my marker in because I don't like doing this way, and sometimes I get to the wrong stitch when I'm on the other side. Okay, so to begin, we're going to do an increase in the first stitch, so 1 and 2. And then we're going to put 2 single crochets along the chain. So 1, and then 1 in the next. And then we're back at the end. And we're going to put 3 single crochets into that stitch, but we're going to be going around and turning it as we go. So there's 1, give it a bit of a turn, and don't worry about the tail. 2, and then turn it all the way, so we're working on the opposite side of our chain, and that'll be 3, all in that end chain. And now we're going to do our 2 across. 1, 2, and then 1 single crochet in the end. And flip our marker. And now for row 2, we're going to do 1 single crochet, and then in the next stitch we're going to do an increase. So 1 and 2. And in the next 2 stitches is our 2 single crochets going along the chain. So 1 and 1 in the next stitch. And now we're back in the end again, and we're going to do an increase, a single crochet, and an increase. So increase, 1 and 2, and then a single crochet in the next stitch, and then an increase in the next stitch. 1 and 2, and then we're back to going along our chain. So we need 2 stitches along across. So 1, and then 1 in the next. And then in the last stitch, we're going to do an increase. We could have done that a little tighter. Phew. And we should have 14 stitches all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, for row 3, we're going to do 14 single crochets around in the back loop. So remember, so we don't go in this side, we go down and out the back loop, down into the V and out the back loop. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and then 14. And then round 4, we're just going to do 14 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. And then just put a slip stitch in the next stitch and leave yourself your tail to sew around. Whoops. Okay. Guess we might as well do the tail while we still can be done with all the yarn. So leave a bit of a tail and then make your loop, because we're going to make a chain. And we are going to chain 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then we're going to do 2 slip stitches starting in the second chain. So 1 slip stitch, and then in the next stitch we're going to do, next chain we're going to do a slip stitch. And then now we are going to do 2 single crochets in every chain going down. Make sure your chain doesn't twist. It should be okay because it's so short. Okay, so 1 and 2, and then 2 in the next chain, and then 2 in the next chain. Double check it's not twisting and you're keeping it nice and straight, not the end, but your chain. The other end should be twisting. So 2 single crochets in the next, 2 single crochets in the next, 2 single crochets in the next, and then you should be about your last one. And when you get to the last one, just 2 single crochets in there as well. And then just tie it off, leaving your little bit of a tail to sew on. Or we're tying it on, really. We're not sewing it. And there's your little curly tail. Okay, let's sew the nose on. So we're going to put a little bit of stuffing in. And I'm going to put mine with the string to the right side. And you're just going to hold it kind of centered between the eyes, kind of along this line under where you put your eyes in. So you put your eyes in on there, so you're going to pin your nose along this line. Kind of make sure it's even. And then just start with 1 pin in the center. Try and go under both loops of your last stitches and then into that line there. And then do 1 on the bottom, just kind of wherever it falls. And then I'm going to do 1 on each side, kind of pulling it out a bit. So it's just under the outside of the eyes somewhere. And do that on both sides. And then just start putting the odd pin. I want this to come up. So I'm going to pull that stitch up into that line that I want it in. I think I'm going to have an extra stitch here. And I want that one up there too. And then do a couple on the bottom. As many as you think you need. And hopefully and then thread your needle, and you're going to be going underneath your muzzle, going around one of your rows, and then coming up, and then going up through this stitch. Now, I don't seem to be talented enough to go up through the stitch without wrecking all my pins, so I got to go around and then come up in 2 separate times. And while you're doing this, keep an eye on your placement that you haven't moved it. So then you're going to go down your next stitch and come up. So right now we are going to be going in that row under the eye until we get to the other side. Make sure you're getting under both sides of that V, and that'll keep your stitch from stretching a little bit. Oh, I have to come up yet. Make sure you pull it up where you need it. No, I didn't come in that stitch, so I don't know which stitch I want to come in. I might go in that one. And just keep doing that all the way around, checking your placement. See, that could have come up a bit, so I am going to go through that stitch again. Just so I can kind of pull it back over where I want it. That'll make me a little happier, I think. While I'm doing this, I am just going to remind you that if you haven't already and you like my videos, make sure you hit the subscribe button. That way, when I load a new video, it should give you a notification, and I believe it also shows up in your subscription feed. I also have a craft page on Facebook. If you want to share anything you've made with me or others that are on there, you can go there, and at the top there's a pinned post that says YouTube share, and you can just go in there and leave a comment or a photo. What else? I'm not sure. I guess also if you see anything in the background in my videos that you'd like to make, there's a YouTube for everything you see on my channel. Mainly in the amigurumi playlist and the quick and easy playlist, except the last 3 animals that I've made. I've done the chicken, and I've done the pig will be done, but I will also have the links to these farm animal series down in the description. If you click more, you'll be able to see that. And then now that I'm around, we're just going to give it a little tie somewhere. You just want to grab a little piece somewhere. Try and get under the nose if you can, but it is kind of tricky. Just so it's easier to hide this knot. And I am going to do my little trick of pulling one side first, so that knot's nice and tight and hidden down there well. And then also we are gonna thread it down under the nose, through the hole, and out the back, and give it a tug to hide that a little better. All right, we're getting close, guys. Okay, now we're going to do the ears. And we want them starting in between rows 2 and 3. So row 1 is where your loop was. This is 2. And you want to start them right about here. And about just a little to the back of his head. Like not quite center, just a touch back. Kind of in line with his legs. So grab your needle, and I like to start at the top, so make sure your tail's at the top. And you're just going to pin that through the first stitch and right in the middle across the center between that second and third line. And then you're going to take your last stitch, so 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you want to go down 4. So 1 where your pin is, 2, 3, 4, and you should be in line with where you put his eyes, which I believe was between rows 5 and 6. So that's where you want to pin the bottom of his ear. And you're just going to go through a row, a stitch, a row, a stitch, a row, a stitch. And I actually think I might put those back up one now that I've seen it. Yeah, I like that better. And then just pin the other ear just to make sure that you're happy with the placement. So again, it'll be between row 2 and 3. Try and keep it even with where you've just moved your ear to. And then even with this line where you put the eyes in, 5 and 6. And I think that's okay. We are going to move the ears around a bit once they're sewn on, just to kind of shape them. But I think that's okay. So let's thread your yarn. And you're just going to go down and under that stitch in the row, that little bar. You can take your pin out since you already have your thread in there. And then you're going to go through your first stitch in the ear. Now if you want to secure that a little better, you can just go around one more time. Make sure you're going in the right row. And then back through that first stitch. And take your bottom pin out and get it out of your ear, but keep it in the same place where you want it. And then you're just gonna go in you're gonna go under the row, the next row. And then through the second stitch. And just kind of use this pin as a line. I think I moved my stitch back, but I didn't move my pin back. Just so it's going down in a straight line. Go into the next row. Go into the next stitch. So that should be 3, and now you're on your last one. So go into that last row and your last stitch. And then do that twice if you want. The last row and the last stitch. And then you're just going to tie it. But I'm going to wait till my other ear is on just to double check. Because so far I've had to do the nose twice and the bottom under his legs twice. And I'm kind of over taking out knots. You know what I mean. So thread your other ear. And you were going to come behind, right where that red pin was. Grab your bar. And then go through the first stitch of the ear. And then you're going to do that a second time, just to keep it a little more secure. And then you can get rid of this pin as far as being in the ear and just kind of put it right where you want it to be. So now you're going to go in your second stitch. And I'm going to have to go left-handed here. Go down in your, is that your second row, I believe? Second row. Then you're going to go in your third stitch. And your third row, keeping in line with your bottom pin where you want to end your ear. And then in your fourth stitch. And your fourth row where you had the green pin. You can double check you're in the right row still. And then do a second stitch into that ear and that row. And then you're just going to tie both your ears if you're happy. Just going to play with his face for a second and get the ears how you want them. I think that's going to be okay. Oh yeah, lean them forward a bit. Okay, so tie. Just grab a little piece somewhere. And this is another spot where it's kind of handy to pull your knot halfway through and then finish it. And then you're just going to pull that out through the back in the center of his head somewhere. And then do the same thing. Oopsie. Same thing on the other side. Pick a stitch. Maybe that one. And then hide that down inside and out where your other string came out. So they're both in the same hole. And then you're just going to give them a little tug. And kind of watch from the front. Hold on, let's give it a one tie. And then watch the front and kind of pull them in a bit. And when you're happy with how tight you have them, just finish tying them off in the back. Another tie or two. Oops. Then you're just going to bring both those ends back in his head and then out somewhere. And cut them off. And then we need to give him a little nose. I'm trying to think if there's anything I need to say I did different for the bigger one, but I don't think so. I think everything is pretty much exactly the same, except the magic ring on the head. Let's grab the tail, get him on. So I just kind of seen where it sat the best when my strings were out like this. So like that, and then flip it over and tried that. Oh, that's kind of cute. Should we do it like that so it's facing up? I don't know what happens when it falls over though. Well, that'll be okay. So however you feel your tail should go, you're just going to go in one of these last stitches in the back and then out the bottom. So you're barely grabbing any, just a little bit. And then you're going to do the same thing with the other side, making sure your strings aren't twisted under there. So you've got this one going down and out, and this one will come on this side, down and out, the same stitch. So you should be right beside where you went in, and then coming out, right beside where you went in, and then coming out the same stitch you went out. And then just give that a tie. And then you're going to put those ends back in through the body somewhere. Careful not to pull so tight that you get rid of that little point there, because that kind of adds a little bit to it. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. Pigs' tails don't stick up like that, do they? Oh well. Okay. Now grab a scrap of black if you have one, or grab a new piece. And I wasn't happy with my nose stitches. I wanted them to be longer, but it is what it is. So we're just going to go in the top corner of this side of his nose, go down, getting under the stuffing, and then pick your other corner on the other side. It could be this, but I feel like it's not far enough over. Reason you want to go under the stuffing is so you're not seeing this black thread go across. And then just kind of see, actually this one looks better than this one, which is weird. I thought it was going to be the other way around. then just bring them down, see where you want them to go. And then you're going to thread them in with your needle. And I had to do this a couple of times. And I'm going to just pull mine out the bottom here and tie it down there. See, they should be straighter. Kind of match that up. Is that where I want it? Or there? And then bring it out the bottom. Careful not to pull too tight. I don't know why one always looks better than the other. But I don't want to bring it any more that way. Alright, and then once you're happy enough with it, just give it a tie. Not too tight because you don't want to pull those stitches too tight. And then we are gonna hide this back down in the body. Go in the same stitch that you came out of, and then somewhere out the back of his head. Careful not to pull on these. If you have to hold them, hold them. I think I can do it without. If I grab the right one. Oops, there we go. There, and your piggy is done. So I hope you enjoyed making this guy, and I see you in some of my other videos. And you guys have a great day. Gotta fix his ears, that bugs me. And happy crocheting.